There's a man going round taking names.
Welcome to Movies with MacLean. I'm Andrew MacLean, and this is the weekly movie podcast where we talk all things movies, including the latest in movie news. With me today are two guests returning on the show, Matt Vorbroker. Matt, how's it going?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm doing well. I'm glad to have you back. And here for the first time on the show, Cole Marvin. Cole, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Now, Cole, on this show, we talk about movies, but you're actually making your own movie. So how about you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is about a year now that I've started getting into films. I've been a writer and a director for a new upcoming short film that I'm doing. We're calling it Torn. And we just finished up in our production. We're doing post-production. We're putting together a score and all that fun kind of stuff. And our story is based on a man who's writing a letter to his significant other. And while he's writing it, he knows he has to break up with her. He knows he has to end it. But as time goes by, things kind of make him lean towards the other side. And as the movie goes, or as the short film goes on, you get to see why his mind starts to change. But it's an absolute blast being able to make a film. And as Stanley Kubrick says, the best education he ever got in film was to make a film. There's a lot of stuff that you don't realize that goes into it, and it makes me appreciate these films, especially like Logan that we're going to be talking about today, a whole lot more.
Well, that's incredible. I can't wait to watch that when that is eventually finished. Do you have an idea of when it's all going to be wrapped up?
Absolutely. In about the next week, there's a film festival in Cincinnati that we're posting it to.
Awesome.
So we'll be sending it there, and then within the next month, we'll release it to the public.
Okay, very excited to check that out, and thank you for sharing that. That's incredible that you're making your own film. As far as this goes, I talk about movies, but I don't know a whole lot about what goes into the production, so I'm sure that's been an experience for you, going through all of that. Sounds like, I guess, you seem to enjoy it, though, so that's something that is really cool that you're involved in that.
Thank you very much.
So, as he said, we are talking about Logan today, and I just want to warn the viewers, we are eventually going to talk spoilers, but we have about 10 more minutes. Stick around before we get into the Logan spoilers, and we'll let you know when that starts. But before we start our Logan review, we are going to talk about the movie news. So the first item of news is the first full-length trailer was released for Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Men Tell No Tales. This is the 5th movie in the franchise. Matt, what did you think of the trailer?
I liked it because just based on I don't know. It's a little confusing because I haven't really kept up with the past couple, but I've heard really bad things for especially 3 and 4, especially 4. But this trailer interests me. I just feel like they're going back to the roots of the first movie more with this trailer, and I'm really excited to see if they can turn the
turn the tides.
Yeah, turn the tides for the last movie in the franchise.
Yeah, I'd love to see them kind of go back to that original, talking more about the Black Pearl, and it looks as though they're going back to Jack Sparrow's origins, because there's a clip in there, I believe, that it shows young Jack Sparrow, and was it Civil War that we saw young
Robert Jr.
Yeah. And I think they're going to try and use that same technique, which they did brilliantly in Civil War, and I'm really looking forward to see that. But Jack Sparrow is one of the best, fictional pirate characters that we've seen. So to be able to see what got him to where he is kind of that, I guess, Godfather Part 2, getting able to see the origins of it, all of it. So if it comes together as good as I'm hoping, I'm excited.
Yeah, that's a good point you guys make, although I am going to have to disagree. I think I'm going to have to be the negative guy and say that I'm not excited for this movie at all, and I didn't like the trailer.
Oh, man.
It showed the backstory of Javier Bardem's character a little bit, why he sort of was going after Jack Sparrow, and I just wasn't interested in that. It will be cool to see sort of Jack Sparrow's origin, like you say, but I think this franchise it's a tired franchise, and it needed to end a long time ago, so I don't even know if I'll see this one, but I guess I'm glad that you guys are excited for it, at least. Alright, our next piece of news is actually related to Logan. There was a Deadpool short, Deadpool teaser, whatever you want to call it, that dropped in theaters before showings of Logan, and it's now a slightly different version of that is now available on the internet. So this teaser, I thought it was pretty great, but what do you think, Matt?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really funny and like using just like classic music like the Superman theme.
Yeah.
Good old John Williams.
Yeah, John Williams score. It also referenced Nathan Summers, yes,
Yeah.
Cable for that. They said he was going to be in Deadpool 2 after the post-credit scene in
Deadpool.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. I just thought it was really funny and just like cool like things here and there, like the Stan Lee cameo and like the Firefly poster in the background.
Yeah.
So maybe I don't know, maybe they're doing something with Joss Whedon soon.
Well, I think it's probably just
because
because Marina Baccarin from Deadpool is in, like, she's from Firefly,
yeah.
I think is probably why.
I think he was in talks to direct Deadpool 2 before they signed, crap, I don't know.
remember.
Give me a
who's
second.
signed.
Sorry,
Yeah.
before they signed who's
figure it out.
directing Deadpool 2 right now. I thought that might have been an Easter egg for that, but I have no idea. And I just thought it was really funny and really entertaining, just like the Deadpool movie itself.
Yeah, so I saw Logan twice, and so I got to see this trailer twice. But before I saw it the first time, I got a little sneak preview online. I got to see it, and it was really funny watching the reactions of people in the theater, because the way it's set up, I don't want to say anything too specific, but it's a very interesting opening to this trailer.
Yeah.
The way that they make it in the theater. And a lot of people weren't prepared and may not have even realized what was going on. And to see them kind of come to realize what the heck is going on is really funny. Because I knew right when it came up, I was like, oh, this is awesome. We get to watch this. This is in theaters now. It's on the big screen. But like, I was with my father the second time, and I was with a couple of my friends that work at the movie theater the first time, and they weren't ready. So when it came up and they finally figured it out, they were like, no way!
Yeah.
So it's fun to see people's reactions to this.
I know I was sitting there and, like, I thought maybe I was watching the beginning of Logan, and then I hear that music, and I'm like, wait, that's the song from Deadpool.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's kind of a dark humor, maybe taken a little too far, where he lets the guy die.
Oh, yeah.
But
no, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, it's not, like, in the continuity or anything, and like, it's Deadpool, and really what it did for me is just made me realize that Deadpool 2 is really not that far away. Like, they haven't set an official release date, but Fox has, like, a date in, I think it's February of next year, that it's, like, Untitled Fox Marvel film.
I think that's kind of like their month
gonna be,
now.
Yeah, for Deadpool, yeah, that's probably where it's going to be. And Matt, I saw that it is David Leitch is the director.
David Leitch, okay.
Who did, he was, like, one of the co-directors of John Wick, and that's the only thing he's done, and then he's done a bunch of stunts.
Okay.
So,
cool.
So I mean, I'm just very excited for Deadpool 2, and that was a cool, funny, lighthearted moment before the before
Definitely.
Logan, which was not bad at all.
When I saw his Deadpool's face, immediately I was like, wait, is this the beginning of Logan? Like you said, I was just like, wait, what?
Right.
I was just like completely thrown off, and I was just like amazed by it. Definitely.
Yeah. I'm sure there were people who had who could have lost a lot of money if they had said, no way Deadpool's going to be in Logan when those rumors were coming out, if he was. But alright, that's all we have in the news today. So we're going to get into our review of Logan. For now, we're not going to talk spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie, first of all, you should see the movie, but stick around for the next 5 minutes or so, and we'll let you know when the spoilers are going to start, and when there will be a big warning up on the screen. So, the first thing I want to ask you guys is, who should see this movie? What type of people, like, age group, and, like, what type of movies do you like if you should see this movie? Like, superhero movies, or just dramas? What do you think, what kind of movie fan do you think would appreciate Deadpool? Cole?
Well, Logan is a very...
Logan, I call it Deadpool.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
I caught that. Logan is rated R for a reason.
Yeah.
They don't just slap it on there because someone slips the F word twice. It is R for a reason. And it actually made me really mad. There were 2 8-year-olds sitting next to me.
Yeah,
we
in
saw
front
some
of
really
us, there
young
were
kids.
some
It's
kids.
ridiculous.
What
I'm
the
like,
heck?
parenting, come on.
Yeah.
But this is a hardcore movie. And I always like to see The Dark Knight as a hardcore movie, but this like steps it up to this character that is truly getting old. He's hardened, and he's seen some bad stuff.
Yeah.
So he's really tearing it up out there. So if you're fine with that stuff, which I'm totally fine with that stuff, it's a very hardcore rated R movie, and it's a very interesting theme to it, because even though it's a superhero film, it's more so a very heavy drama that happens to have superheroes as characters,
Yep.
which I think is a strong point in this movie. So anyone who's in love with those old-time westerns, like Shane, which is actually alluded to in the movie, or any of those, you know, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, the
Unforgiven.
One Man, Unforgiven, The Wrestler, and all those. But someone who is, by themselves and seen the hard days and now tries to face it, it's that kind of movie.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's like more, like you were talking about westerns. It's like a transition film for people who like aren't really into the superhero movies, and it like can maybe give them more leeway and to start like watching them, because I feel like they are a really good. I wouldn't say like genre of a movie, but they're a really good type of movie that can use other genres. Just like this one did, but this one I feel like had like used more of that genre, like the western genre, and then slightly less of like the superhero elements, so that it can get maybe more of a wider audience, even though it's rated R. I thought it did a really good job of doing that, and just like being an overall good movie with superhero, just like a really good movie that happens, like you said, that happens to have superhero characters in it and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think it tells a story that really anyone can appreciate. It deals with like themes of family that we can all relate to, and so while it is a comic book movie, it does, I think, do a good job of differentiating itself from other comic book movies. And then you say, it is very R-rated, not just because of like the violence, but the subject material is very mature. And I think there's one scene that almost might give kids nightmares if they're in the theater. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But as Deadpool would say, I think maybe they should be wearing the brown pants to protect themselves. If you're seeing this movie under 12. So next topic I want to ask you guys, or question I want to ask you guys is, does Logan live up to the hype? Did it meet all of your expectations, or were you disappointed at all? What do you think, Matt?
I mean, I had really high expectations. It was probably like top 10 of the year, maybe like between 5 and 10 of the year. I didn't really make a list, but like if I were to say, it would probably be in between there. And I feel like it really did live up to the hype. It was just like an overall, just like a really well made and well put together film. And then just like the fact that I love superhero movies, and that it had to be part, like that was part of that, like this universe that we've been creating for 17 years, and like building upon, and maybe like scrambling a little bit and doing all that stuff, and just being it by itself, but still also part of that universe. It just, I don't know, I feel like it just did a really good job of doing all those things, and I feel like it did live up to the hype, at least for me.
I agree. Totally lived up to my hype. Now, the thing is, I didn't originally plan on saying this. I've never been a huge X-Men fan. I usually tend to go more towards DC rather than Marvel. And when I saw that they're making another X-Men based movie, I was like, well, they're just trying to milk their franchise, let them have fun. And right when it hits like some of the critics, it came out on IMDb as like a 9.5.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, that is it's actually the highest ranking on IMDb. But now it's it's down to an 8.7. But man, I was like, I've got to see this.
Yeah.
So once I saw a 9.5, I was like, this better be dang good, and it met it. It was fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah.
I'm a huge believer that most of the time you shouldn't have too big of high expectations. So that I shouldn't have gone in with anything too big, because you just need to appreciate the movie for what it is and not what you think it should be.
Definitely.
But for this instance, I did go in and they were met.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree. Met all my expectations. This movie, like you said, it wasn't like you didn't make a specific list. I think it was probably my third most anticipated of the year. Just I saw that first trailer and I was like, I'm in. And I mean, it's lived up to everything that I was hoping it was going to be. And all I'll say is it's the last outing likely for Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart. And I think they both give the best performances. No, I mean, it's pretty clear they give the best performances they have as these characters in any X-Men movie. So, sorry.
No, like Cole was saying, like Nick Saganik has been on here before and talked about how he was not excited for this movie at all until people started coming out with like how they felt about it, because they have been doing this for 17 years and it's been up and down with X-Men Origins, X-Men 3. Some people didn't like the Wolverine that much. It's just been like, it was. I thought it was good.
Same director.
Yeah.
James Mangold.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought he did a really good job here. And Nick was wrong. Just wanted to put that out there.
Take that, Nick.
Yes.
So next thing I want to ask you guys is, what would you recommend our viewers watch before seeing Logan, if anything, really? Do you think they need to see the other X-Men movies, or how many of them, or any at all?
It's not a necessity for me, like not for me, for like just to see the movie. Definitely not.
No, you're
but
good without.
I feel like some of the movies might elevate it for you even higher than it already is. Like in X2, when he does the PG-13 Berserker Rage on a bunch of soldiers in the X-Men mansion, that's definitely most of this movie's action with him. Yeah. And I would say X-Men Origins if it was good. The Wolverine, it makes a couple references with like samurai swords and stuff like that, but that's just like the beginning of the movie, not important stuff. And X-Men Apocalypse kind of took a little bit of the Weapon X story, and that's the better version. If they did like a movie of those scenes for X-Men Origins, that should be with X-Men Origins. But like if you see X-Men Apocalypse, that can also help you out with some of the stuff in this movie.
The only X-Men movie that I saw all the way through, I've seen bits and pieces like that are on TV or whatnot, but the only one I sat down and watched the whole thing was X-Men Apocalypse, and I wasn't a huge fan of it anyways. And I went into this movie and it stands alone, which is a true testament to a great film and a sequel that if it stands alone and it's good, that's a good formula right there.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd say you don't need to see any of the X-Men movies. It, like you say, it stands alone. It sets up a world that's very different from anything we've seen in an X-Men movie before. If you do watch one, I'd say watch the very first X-Men, just to get like a general idea of like of mutants and the X-Men.
Right. Like if you're totally blank to what the heck X-Men are,
Yeah.
now it makes sense. But to us who've like read comic books or any of that, it makes sense.
Or just like look up like X-Men, read like the
Take 10
Wikipedia.
minutes.
But really you don't need to watch them all. And it's cool because it's not specific if this takes place like after the events of all the others or if it's like its own alternate universe. So it kind of leaves that open. So it's really not that important to watch the others. Alright, last thing before we get into spoilers. If you guys had to pick one movie that you could only watch this movie and can't watch the other one anymore, Logan or Deadpool? Matt, I know this is going to be a tough decision.
This is actually a really tough decision. I mean, I really liked Deadpool, but I think I'm going to have to go with Logan just because Deadpool has been out for a while and I've seen it so many times already that I've gotten my fair share of it. And I've only seen Logan once at this point, so I'd much rather enjoy to see that more times from now than Deadpool. But so it was really tough thinking about that because like they're both superb movies that both stand alone in a large universe of like expanded comic book movies and stuff like that. And I think they both did a really good job, like comedy mixed with action and just like grittiness, R-ratedness, awesomeness all together. But I'm gonna have to go with Logan.
Alright, cool.
Logan, hands down. I gotta say it. Deadpool, great film. I enjoyed every little piece of it, but I've always been drawn more to the dramas rather than the comedy base.
Yeah.
And Marvel loves to use that comedy a lot, and even though it's Fox instead of like Disney and the others, it has that different spin of comedy, but there's just something that really reels me in with Logan. It gets to me.
Okay. You know, I've been going back and forth on this all week since I decided we were going to do this, and I think when it comes down to it, I have to go Deadpool, and it's real close for me. They're both very original and unlike anything else in the superhero genre, and neither one are perfect movies, but they're still like great all around. And I think where it comes down to the tiebreaker for me is Deadpool's just more rewatchable. I feel like I'll be watching Deadpool several times a year, and I'll maybe watch Logan, once a year, just because it is hard to watch.
Right. There's a lot.
So I think that's where the tiebreaker is, but it's like neck and neck for me. So this is the part where we're gonna start talking spoilers. If you haven't seen Logan, we'll see you next week. But let's get into it. So let's talk about just the story, the tone of the film, and overall reactions. What really stood out to you the most in Logan, Matt?
Just I feel like the opening scene, just with like him like with like sleeping in his limo, and just like wrecking all of those like cholos outside, like trying to rob his car, and it was just like such a good action scene, and like his like claw not coming out. It definitely sets up the movie for like the rest of the tone. Just like a bit of comedy, but also you're like, oh, he's getting like the crap beat out of him at sometimes, and he's also wrecking other fools, like just like destroying, like limbs coming off, and like going through like someone's head with his claws and stuff like that. It was just so good, and just like a great like way to start off an awesome movie.
Well, I mean, you take the first 4 minutes of the movie and you characterize this person and the story so well,
definitely,
to where you now understand that he's a drunk. He doesn't really have much to him. He's driving a limo around trying to get money, and he's still got it in him.
Yeah.
You know, someone come around messing with him, he will take them out.
Yeah.
So they did a fantastic job. Minimal dialogue, except for like some banter going back and forth. Yeah. But all that visual, and it also is a warning to the audience, saying if you're not ready for this,
get out now.
Get out now, because this is the whole dang thing.
Yeah, I think he drops an F-bomb in the first like 3 seconds of the movie, and then cuts off 3 guys' arms, and just
sticks it through his face.
Yeah.
That'd be awful. Just like have 3 claws go through your mouth and just like come out right there.
Oh, I can't imagine. That was great. No, overall, this film, like I said during the non-spoiler, is a great film even outside of the fact that this is a mutant. This is a great story of an old man trying to keep himself away from hurting anyone else, because he's seen a lot of stuff, he's gone through a lot of hardships, and now he wants to make sure that he doesn't hurt anybody else. But sometimes you got to roll a couple heads along the way.
Yeah.
And it starts getting into his superhero aspects, and that's just part of his character. It's not the whole. It's not all of him.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think one thing that's one thing of note is that Logan kills a lot of people in this movie, and sometimes I take issue with that in superhero movies, but because of the nature of this story, I think it works. And obviously for me, it didn't work in like Batman v Superman, where Batman's like killing people.
Right.
But Logan obviously doesn't have a rule about no killing, and he doesn't want to hurt people, but he realizes that in this story he has to save X-23 and her future, and if he doesn't kill these people, they're never going to stop coming after her. So I think that while it is very dark at times, and it's brutal, I think that's necessary in this adult story. So I thought that it did work for me.
Those themes, I think, stand out more than the gore and the cursing and all of that. Because, like, if I took something away, I wouldn't say, well, man, it was really gory. I would say that was a powerful film that got to the message and told about this man and a little girl, and how he's become who he is. Like, that's what I take from that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely like a very modernized version of Shane, the Western that they were watching and stuff like that, and especially more pointed out at the end when X-23 is like saying the lines of the little boy from Shane as she's standing over Logan's grave.
Is that what that was?
Yeah,
okay.
I figured it out. Like, I was asking you after, I was like, what was she saying? Her accent's kind of hard to like read exactly, but yeah, I've watched some stuff, and like multiple sources are like, people have said that that's what she's talking about, like that's what she's repeating.
Yeah.
Just like the lines from that movie.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about X-23, but let's really talk about this character. First time we've seen her in a feature film. So what are your guys' reactions to Laura or X-23, Matt?
I mean, I thought she did a really good job, especially being as young as she is. I mean, she didn't have to like do a lot of like long like dialogue heavy scenes, but she did a really good job with her action and like moving around and stuff like that. She did a good job staying silent, and then when she like you find out that she actually talks like a lot, or like she can talk and she's just doing it by choice. She did a really good job playing off Hugh Jackman with stuff like that, and just like over the entire film, like you can see her like range of emotions, just like with Hugh Jackman, and like at the end when he's gonna leave her, or like he didn't take the money, and he thinks that'll make her happy, but she just wants to be with him and stuff like that. I think she did a really good job just portraying her character.
Yeah, to get an 11-year-old,
Yeah,
to not only flip around and do action and whatnot, to convey a lot of emotion, to be able to speak the way she does, and then to instill fear, not only in the characters, but in the audience as well. Like, she's intimidating.
Yeah.
And at 11 years old, that is absolutely amazing. James Mangold was talking about when he had to cast, you would think there'd be all these people coming in wanting to do this, but they had a very limited amount of people because they needed a Hispanic girl who can do action, who can act very well, and who's okay with being in an R-rated film.
Yeah.
That's not easy to come by.
Yeah.
So to be able to direct that, hands down, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think like really everyone's gonna love this character.
Oh,
I mean, you like her at the beginning when she's just the killing machine basically, and she doesn't talk, and then after Charles passes, then she begins to talk and open up to Logan, and you really care about her even more.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important that there's hope for her future at the end, because that shows that all the pain that the character suffered throughout the movie wasn't for nothing. It was for hope. It was to provide a future for her and all the other mutant kids. So I thought that she was almost the center of like the emotional focus of the movie. So let's talk about the deaths now. We saw the death of Professor X and Wolverine in this movie. So how do you guys react to that in the theater? And do you think that it was a good send-off for both characters?
You can go.
All right. So Charles was my favorite character in this one. He was my man. And I didn't think, 20 minutes in the movie, he's gotta die. For some reason that didn't click with me. Apparently it did with a lot of people. But for me, I thought he was so strong, and I loved hearing Patrick Stewart spout out the F word. That just made me laugh. Because he's Captain Picard, and he's Professor X. Like, he is this very noble person, and to hear him be real, and to be old, and to see, like Logan, see life how it is, that was really awesome. So I loved him. So to see him die in that scene with X-24, that got me. I was honestly waiting for somebody to wake up. I was not ready for that.
Yeah. It was very sudden, especially like when you're not expecting it at all, and then you're just like, and it almost feels anticlimactic, and then you're just like, well, that's like kind of how something's like
exactly. I think it was fit for
like
him and his character, because he had talked about before he died, like right before he died, talking about how he remembers about Westchester and what he did. Like, he doesn't want these things to happen, but they do anyways. Yeah. And so that just, I believe, fits his character very well.
Yeah.
I think, when he's actually buried and Hugh Jackman is talking about, like, it's near the water, like he would have wanted, I think that's, like, the best acting we've seen in any X-Men movie. That scene right there was,
oh my gosh,
like, the emotions.
This whole movie, there's the best acting of any of them.
Like that, and like the dialogue, and mixed with the way that Jackman said that dialogue, just really like almost brought me to tears in the theater. Like I try not to a lot, but
it's rough stuff, man.
Yeah, yeah, a great send off for Patrick Stewart there. I think that he deserved that. A death that paid off like that a lot better than the one in Last Stand.
Yeah.
Absolutely
awful. But so what about the death of Wolverine? What do you guys think of that, Matt?
It was definitely heartbreaking just to like see him just like there, like fighting X-23, like, or X-24, sorry, fighting X-24, like just like the pure rage like from him fighting against like him as an old man, and you're just like, it's like almost reminded me of Superman 3.
Except 10 times better.
More like 100 times better. But yeah, and no, I mean, and it was just like really impactful just to like see them fight it out, and then like him at the end with Laura, and just like he's like, this is what it feels like. It's left ambiguous to what like he's talking about. I don't know if he's talking about like death or like love or
absolutely
anything, like, because he's like lived a long life, but there's some things that he just hasn't been able to experience because of his mutant abilities or because of his like tragedies that he's lived through in his life and stuff like that.
It's a very poetic death.
Yes.
The fact that he dies not only from being, get the hell beat out of him, but literally what's inside him and what has made him who he is what's killing him. So the fact that, what builds him up so much is what breaks him down is very poetic, as well as one of my favorite parts of the whole movie is the very end where he's buried and he has the cross in his grave and she picks it up and makes it the X. And not only is it, cool X-Men, but that's the true death of the last X-Men.
Yeah.
And it's saying, it could be saying that generation is done, or if X-Men is done, I'm sure they're not going to stop at X-Men.
Yeah.
But a very poetic and beautiful way to end 17 years of a lot of work, and honestly, one of my favorite actors. He does great on Broadway. He does great on the big screen. He's fantastic.
Yeah. I definitely agree. I think turning the cross to the X sort of symbolizes how he died to ensure that the next generation of X-Men could live on, and on top of what you said. So yeah, I think poetic is a great word to describe that. And he's been playing this character for 17 years, and another great send-off for him as well. I think after all of the years, I can say that Hugh Jackman as Wolverine might be the best fit for any superhero that we've seen in any superhero franchise. So let's talk about, those are some pretty depressing scenes, so let's talk about some of our favorite scenes other than those two. I'll start off and say that my favorite scene was probably X-23 eating cereal, guys walking the room.
Oh my gosh.
She just eyes them like, you better watch out. And then we're from the outside, and here's screaming, and there she walks out with the guy's head.
Yeah,
and
I was not ready for that to be a head.
And
I was like, shoot, man.
I did not watch the second trailer, actually, because I just wanted to avoid seeing anything else that I wanted to see for the first time in the theater, and I watched it after the movie, and they sort of showed a little bit of that.
Yeah, it
so
wasn't like fully her throwing the head, but you can see her walking in the background, and she's got something in her hand that definitely looks a little bit like a head.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I do gotta say, some of my favorites are the death of Charles and Logan. I think they are brilliantly executed. But one of my other favorites is of Charles, and when we're leaving the casino after he has that seizure, and as he sees everyone in pain and all that, and he goes, I'm so sorry. Oh, yeah, that's just heartbreaking.
Yeah,
because he doesn't want that. He's such a kind and gentle soul that he would never want to hurt anyone, and the fact that he nearly killed all these people and that he's done it before, it hurts to see that character have to go through that. So that's probably my favorite scene in the entire movie.
You say heartbreaking. This movie's very heartbreaking, and it sort of crushes you at a lot of moments in the film. Which for a superhero movie to do that's very special. Yeah.
I mean, I was definitely going to talk about that as well, but also talk about the pre-leading scene into that. Sorry, where Logan's just like going through the building while everyone's just stuck there.
He's and then he's sticking his knives.
Yeah, and he's in the elevator going up, and then just walking, and you see the guy look at him, and he's just
when his eyes shake over, and you're shoot, dude, you're gone.
You're straight dead. And then him getting through all the guys, and then giving X-23 the syringe to sedate Professor X, and then when one of the guys turns out to be living because he only got injured by Wolverine, and then just X-23 just gets on him, just goes goes ham on him, just murders him. Just that whole sequence from what you or from what I said and then to what you said, Professor X just feeling awful about that and giving him bad memories of the Westchester incident that they hinted at and stuff like that. Definitely really good.
I think that's such a credit to James Mangold as a director. You talk about an incredible action scene, and you talk about an incredible emotional scene with great acting. If you can get both of those things in the same movie throughout the entire movie, that is just an incredible credit to the director and what he can pull off. And I think he does a similar thing, and obviously not to the same level, but with the action in The Wolverine, there's a really unique action scene on top of a train that's speeding in that. So I think he gets very unique action scenes, as well as the more dramatic scenes. So now we're going to talk about an over/under, and I'm going to ask you guys: do you think there's over or under 50% chance that Logan gets nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars?
That is tough.
You want me to start?
Definitely. I'm gonna go definitely an under. Sorry, but it's probably gonna be in my top 10 of the year.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like, it's probably not gonna be in the Academy.
Knowing the Academy,
Yeah.
usually they gotta have at least 10 of these like film festival award symbols on them.
Yeah.
Before they even get like thought about.
Yeah.
It would be a happy surprise
Yeah.
to see it end up in the nominated films. I would love to. Personally, I think I'm going under. But the fact that 5 nominations was made into 10 back in 2009 because The Dark Knight wasn't nominated, it does give me hope to see that another really great superhero film will be nominated. So I'd love to see it, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
You know, I'm actually going to go over, and here's why. We saw Arrival nominated this year. That's a sci-fi film. And we saw The Martian nominated the year before. Now, I don't think that it has a lot of... I don't think it has a chance to win, really, but I think they'd like to recognize this as a film that stands above the others in its genre and really did something unique. And I think that the performances help a lot because there's a chance that Patrick Stewart gets nominated for Best Supporting Actor. I mean, Heath Ledger won Best Supporting Actor, so it's not like they're against nominating for acting.
Exactly.
So I think that helps its chances. And, I mean, it'll definitely, I think, at least be in my top 10 for the year.
Yeah.
If there's 10 films that come out this year that are better than Logan, this
It's going to be a good year.
Yeah, very good year.
No, I think it has a better chance than Deadpool had last year, but I'm still gonna go under 50%. Sorry.
All right.
Sorry to disappoint you.
Well, hey, it's not up to you. It's up to the Academy. So now I'm going to ask you guys, how would you classify Logan? Do we think that it fully transcends the superhero genre? I think it plays into a lot of different genres. So what would you guys call it if you could give it like one label?
Ooh, just one.
Well, okay, you can combine into, like, I'll say it's a sci-fi western, if that's a label.
Ooh, that's good.
I could see that. I almost don't want to put sci-fi or superhero on there, just because there's so many elements around that it just happens to be a superhero that I'd love to see it more of a western drama.
Okay.
I was thinking western drama too, but crap, I don't know. I'd probably go action drama, probably action drama, which is essentially the same thing as western drama, but yeah, just like how much like that's incorporated into the movie.
We're good. It's gonna keep recording. You're good. You know, I think you kind of have to call it sci-fi a little bit because it does deal with like the child experimentation.
Okay.
So like not just because of the superhero factor, but just the other themes it explores. And Matt, I think you made a good point after we saw the movie how it depicts a future that's not like over the top, like overdone. It seems like real changes that we could actually see
in 2029.
Yeah. By then. And I think there's also a little bit of horror in there. Like we talk about that scene. Well, we haven't really talked about it in depth yet, but right as Charles dies, the family is killed.
I was not ready for that family to die.
That was very.
That was pretty ballsy.
Just like starting off with the kid dying, it's really heartbreaking. Like in a movie of heartbreak.
Right.
It's just extremely heartbreaking just to see like an innocent family that Logan just wanted to help, and like maybe in earlier, like when he first met him, we gotta go. Because pretty much he's mentioned it. I think he mentioned it multiple times in the film. Anyone he like is around, he wants them to leave because they're just gonna get hurt.
Like when he was taken to the urgent care.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if you want to do yourself a favor, save yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you knew we were here.
And yeah, just like him, it's just really awful to see stuff like that. But like, it really makes a point about just like, I don't know, his character and just like how much stuff he's been through.
Yeah, you know, I think when you talk about that, how he wants to push people away because he doesn't want them to get hurt, I think that is sort of a superhero trope. You know, we see that a lot, especially in like the Spider-Man films.
Yeah.
But this does explore this in a much more brutal and realistic way. You know, we see that family massacred, and you know that when you're dealing with men like this, that's realistic, and it wants to show the full brutality of that, because it can in this R-rated movie. And I think that how it differentiates itself while exploring a theme that's similar in superhero movies is it's very tragic at the end there. At the end of that scene, the father of that family has the gun pointed at Logan, and he's going to shoot him. And it's like, I let you into my house, and this is your fault. And I just think that, you know, while that is sort of like in Civil War, how Zemo is going back at them for the damage that he caused, that the Avengers caused to his family, I think that this is just the brutality of it makes this stand out. And it's like Logan said in the movie when he was talking about the comic books, in the real world, people die, and it doesn't shy away from that at all. So I think that that's very powerful. That's
an interesting, I don't want to segue too far, but the fact that they used the comic books in the movie, I don't think I've ever seen that. And not to my memory, but that was really interesting.
Yeah.
It was kind of almost a fourth wall break, like it relates to our own world, because those are like real comics. And I thought I loved it. I thought it was really interesting to see how he's glorified as this hero to society where he doesn't even see it in himself.
Yeah. That's a great point to make.
I mean, it's a little confusing for me, I guess, because like they all have the yellow and blue costumes and like the classic costumes like that. And one of the mutants at the end, the mutant kids, has a Wolverine toy where he's wearing his classic costume.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, so like when did he wear that? I guess like I mean I'd rather see some of those stories and like some of those but I'm interested. I would be interested to see some of those stories like on a film, rather than some of the stuff that they've come out with, like some of the like not so well made X-Men films, I guess.
Yep. All right. Next question I had is one that we've already touched on a little bit, but if you guys had anything else, I just want to ask, how do you think Logan explores the theme of family, and what other themes does it explore? If you guys had anything new that we haven't already touched on, either of you?
Just like quick moments of like when they're at the dinner table and they're just like all getting along, and just like it's like general sense of like kindness and love and between like them.
How Charles is explaining to him, this is what a family is. This is what it looks like to settle down. And the fact that really, even though X-23 is technically his blood, more so genetic code, that his real family is Charles. This man who is stuck by his side the whole time, and the only person he knows that stayed consistent throughout time. Everyone else has changed, has died, has betrayed him. But Charles, this crazy old man, is the one that he sticks with for so long. So really, to him, that's his family.
Yeah. And at the same time, Laura has never really known a family. And then this is her first family experience. And obviously it's terrible that she loses both of them, but they do basically give themselves both to save her.
And originally her family is all those other mutants, how she lists them off and whatnot. And it really touches both with Logan and with X-23 how family extends beyond the blood. That it's who's more important to you.
And I think you talk about the comic book. I think it was pretty cool how they all had that coordinate in the comic book, where obviously that wasn't like a real thing, but they all knew to go to that location to meet up with each other. So I thought that was a cool moment in Logan. So I wanted to ask you guys, are there any negatives? Did you have any issues? Some things I heard some people had issues with the villains. What do you guys think? Matt?
I thought like the henchman villain, like, is it part of the Raven?
Reavers.
Okay. The Reavers guy was alright. I thought he was pretty good. Just like his like southern accent and just like his acting was pretty good.
I really liked him.
And but just like kind of the Rice character, the doctor, I thought he was a little undercharacterized, but and like just kind of like how they made a weird reference to how his father was one of the people that that Wolverine killed in X-Men or in I think X-Men Apocalypse. Like
I think they tried to say that he was Stryker's son, or was that not it?
I don't think it was it, because I think it was just a random scientist that happened to be working there. And I was just like, all right, okay. But other than that, it was a tiny bit slow in the middle, but like good slow. Like you need a break, and just it was like really good, just like character building, and it was like a really good character piece for the second act. But other than that, I think it was really, 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 really good.
Yeah, there are two things that I kind of had an issue with, but it doesn't like ruin the movie in any way or make me not like it any less or anything. But the end scene, the big fight scene, I wasn't as excited about because they've done such a good job for the whole movie of making the fight scenes about 1, 2, maybe 3 people.
Yeah.
And now there's all these kids that you have to worry about, and it's big, and it's kind of what Marvel's known for, those big action scenes with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And it's not as personal as the rest of it. So to me, that fight scene, until he battles X-24 in the end, just wasn't personal, and I didn't love it as much. I enjoyed it. It was great.
Yeah.
I love seeing him pump himself full of that liquid and go at it, but like it wasn't as loving and personal as the rest of the film. So that's just my little gripe. And then also, I'm a huge fan of movie scores, and this one didn't quite like get me at any. There wasn't anything special about it. A lot of it was more the sounds and the tones and all of that. I listened to it afterwards to make sure I got it right, but it wasn't impactful like The Dark Knight or some of those have been.
I think they had some good like song choices as far as like what they took
Johnny
from other.
Cash?
Yeah, Johnny Cash.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I guess I didn't really even notice the score, so that's not a good
Exactly.
sign. Yeah.
So, I mean, Marvel's kind of known for undershooting their scores, but the use of Johnny Cash, I'm sure Mangold did that, 1, because of the tone, and 2, he was also the director of Walk the Line.
That's right, yeah.
So he's got a personal connection with Johnny, but definitely fit that Western, rough, old man feel, and I loved it.
Yeah. I had one pretty big negative, actually, and you know, the more I think about the movie, it bothers me less, but when I was watching it, it really bothered me. And that's, you talk about that last scene, they're all chasing the kids, and I'm wondering, like, they were going to kill these kids before anyways, so why aren't they shooting them?
Yeah, I thought about that.
They're just chasing after them, like,
They
I feel like it's
they
just
wanted them
convenient
alive, but,
that...
I mean, shoot at their feet, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, I mean, if you're going to, I mean, obviously you don't want to shoot Laura because she heals, but they were going to, like, put the kids to sleep, as they put it, so...
Yeah.
Why, like, it was just too convenient, and it felt too easy that they're going to get away because they're not even shooting them. That really bothered me, but other than that, I didn't have any other issues, really. So, now I want you guys to rank this among the X-Men films. Obviously, I guess you said Apocalypse the only one you've seen all the way through.
So this is definitely my number one.
Yeah,
it's going to be hard to beat.
Yeah. So, Matt, go ahead.
It's going between 2 and 3. Probably up there with. I really like Days of Future Past, and then it's going back and forth between First Class right now, and then under that's Deadpool.
Okay. I'm gonna go. My favorite is still First Class. I really love Michael Fassbender as Magneto. I love his arc in that movie, and I love all the history that's involved in that. So First Class is my favorite, and then I'll go Deadpool, and then just below Deadpool is Logan, and then Days of Future Past after that. So now we're going to give our final thoughts and anything that you didn't get to say yet, and then we'll give it a score out of 10. So Matt, you want to go?
I wanted to talk about a little bit about the X-24 fight with Logan when they first started fighting, and I thought that was a really good fight, just like between them, like you guys talked about, like the end of it. Yeah. The end of it where the father had the shotgun and stuff like that. Just like the prelude, like before that, like when Wolverine's just going ham on his chest, and you're like, oh, he's got adamantium in him too, because it's not doing that much. I thought that was a really good action scene, and then I also really liked Caliban as a character and like how he.
That's right.
He was a nice small character to put in there. No, that was a definite good addition.
I think it added a little bit of lightheartedness with the chemistry between Caliban and Logan at the beginning.
Totally. Going back to the farm scene, when he first sees X-24 and he like sees himself pretty much and just has this staring contest, I guess, with him. And what really got me, and one of my friends texted me after she saw it, and she was like, "This scene killed me." Was he watches X-24 take Laura away, and he's standing there, and he goes for Charles, and to me, I'm like, that hits hard too. First of all, going back to the family, that's his family. Laura might be his blood, but that's his family. And two, the decision between the two. And that might have been his turning point of, I can't go back to my family, so I need to help this child in the next generation. Like that was that whole scene on the farm was brilliantly executed, and I really love that.
Yeah, and I think X-24 could have been misused, but they used him just the right amount, so it didn't turn into like Silver Samurai, like Wolverine, which pretty much ruined the end of that movie. So, did you have any final thoughts before we get to our rating?
I don't believe so. I think I've addressed just about everything.
All right, Matt, go ahead then. What's your score out of 10?
I'm probably gonna go like 9.5, 9.6. It's definitely my favorite of the year so far, over Get Out and Split.
Wow. I'm not going to be quite that generous. I'm going to give it an 8.9, right on the edge. It's hard to get in that 9 club.
Okay, I'm going to give it a solid 9 out of 10. Same score I gave Deadpool, so while I do think it's a little better, I think they're, like, if I gave them both a score, I can't go, like, that far apart. So now I want to ask you guys, what's next for X-Men? I think the one thing that we're pretty sure they're going to move forward with is Deadpool 2, X-Force, maybe get into a Cable movie if that takes off. But other than that, do we want to see them continue after the story from Apocalypse, or do we want to see them maybe continue with X-23, or do you guys think that they should do a reboot entirely? What do you think, Cole?
Well, I know, like I said, I haven't seen all of them all the way through. I know they tried to do some type of reboot halfway through. Am I right on that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know how effective that was, because I couldn't stand Apocalypse, and I don't know if I needed to see something before that to make it better. I'm okay if that ends. I am still interested in Laura. I would love to see her maybe grow up or whatnot, but I'm not as interested about the other mutants. So if I had to pick of anybody, I just want Laura. I want a movie that's like Logan, how it doesn't need to be a superhero movie, it just happens to be, and is centered around Laura. That would make me happy.
I'd like to see something with her too, but I think they should wait maybe like 5 years until she's a little older.
Yeah.
And I think that while this is an R-rated movie, I think if we're dealing with a movie where the teenagers are the central characters, I'd be okay with it being PG-13.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, although obviously they'll have to tone down the violence, I think that that's okay because I'll be able to go back and watch X2 and be completely okay with no blood after having seen Logan.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't think it's that big of an issue.
Well, I'm hoping to see that Laura takes his advice of don't become what they made you.
That was a great
I love that line, and I
Yeah.
really hope she tries to stick to that. Or if we see her in the future flash back to that scene and trying to make sure she stays to that word.
I mean, I'm really interested in seeing what she does too, and she's going to Canada, where Wolverine was originally from. So
that's where he started.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh wow, yeah.
And maybe I think they're doing New Mutants in a couple years. So if they wait for her and maybe they put it in the future, like around this time, so like a few years after this.
And those are the New Mutants.
Yeah.
That's a cool idea.
I don't know if they should use the kids that were in this movie, but I think they already have some cast members done and some characters already determined. But if they could have her also be one of those main characters, I feel like that'd be really cool. I'm interested in seeing if Bryan Singer is he going to direct the next one.
He said he's not.
Okay, so whatever. If a good director can get his hands on that, I am interested mainly for another Quicksilver scene, but not a whole lot of interest is in that area as well. Yeah.
Pretty much all I liked about Apocalypse, well, obviously I liked Michael Fassbender's performance, but the only story point that I really wanted to see them continue with was this new generation of. I just liked all the new cast, but if they don't continue with that, I'd honestly rather see a new reboot entirely.
Okay.
There was something that you reminded me of that the second time I watched the movie, I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if they're alluding to this at all. This has nothing to do with the Marvel Universe, but the fact of her getting to Canada and all this stuff reminded me of how a lot of the slavery back pre-Civil War, how they would have these bounty hunters go after them and use the Underground Railroad to get them to Canada, exactly where they were going. and how these mutants are almost a slave to the government in itself, but this safe haven is what they're getting to. I have no idea if they had that in mind, but I was like, whoa, history!
Yeah, I think it's symbolic too that he starts in Canada as like this cage fighter who's sort of lost in the beginning of X-Men 1, and now she's gone through all of this pain, and she's ends up in Canada and now has another chance to start again, just like he did in the beginning of X-Men 1.
Yeah.
So it's very symbolic that that's where we start and now this is where we end.
That's powerful.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, we're going to have to wrap it up. Thanks a lot to both of my guests, and I was glad to have you. I think we all had a good time talking Logan today. Is there anything you guys wanted to say before we sign off?
Just thank you for having us. It was really
Yes,
fun.
absolutely. It was a good time.
Yeah, I'll definitely have you back on. And thank you to our viewers for sticking with us for this long. Next week, we'll review Kong Skull Island, but it's going to be a non-spoiler review, so still check out our episode even if you don't see the movie. And we're also going to talk monster movies, so be sure to check that out, and we'll be back next week.
The wise
Thanks
men
for
will
watching.
bow down before the throne, and at his feet they'll cast their golden crowns.